to class and actually teach you guys how to build a resume, how to structure your resume, and how to defend your resume. And defending your resume starts in class. It starts with doing your homework. It starts with doing your project. Because when you guys start interviewing, before you call me or you call Kingsley or you call Charles to say, I have an interview coming up, I need to be prepped on this interview. The first thing we'll do is to go and look at the percentage of homework that you've submitted. And if you've not submitted up to 70%, then we're not going to waste our time on you. We're just going to tell you, good luck, you're on your own. If you are not taking the class homework and project serious, then you don't expect me to call. You don't expect to call me to come and help you, prepare you for an interview. Because how am I gonna track your upkeep with classwork if you are not doing the class the homework in class? Because I'm not gonna know what you know, because the homework and the projects is there for me, for us to, it serves as a guide for us. Because when we look at the homework, the projects, we can tell that, okay, you have been there, you have been participating, you have been doing work. So it gives me confidence to actually sit there and prep you. But when you're not doing it, hey, it puts us in a very difficult position. I'm like, if you submitted just one homework or two, you know, where do we begin to prep you? What do you even know? You know, I hope you guys understand. And one thing I should also comment on concerning the homework is when you do submit your homework, what we do is we comment on the homework. Sometimes you see me putting comments there, Kingsley will put comments there. The idea is that it becomes an interactive session. We are interacting on the homework you're doing. So if you come up with the wrong answer and I make a comment, or Kingsley makes a comment, and ask you to go look at this or go fix this answer, the expectation is that you go correct that and then come back, do the change in that homework and notify us that, okay, you've made the changes, so we can look at it and say, okay, everything you have right now is correct. Because when you start preparing for interviews, what am I going to do? I'm going to say, okay, go back and look at those projects you did, right? Go back and look at the homework. And when you go back to these documents, you have the question and the answers, the question and the answers. So you're not going to come and say, hey, give us interview question and answers, because you have already done it and you have the question and answers. I hope you get the point. So each time you do homework and we make a comment to go fix something or go correct something or go look at this, go fix it and let us know you've done it so we can look at it again and evaluate it to actually make sure you have everything right and straight up. And we know that, okay, you've done this, it's 100%, right? If you have to go and do revision, you just go back to the homework. You have the questions and you have the right answers. That is it. That takes care of business. You don't need to go online, or you don't need to come to me and say, please give me interview questions and answers, because you have already done them. Right? So most of the projects we are giving you are interview based. So you need to take them serious and come up with the best answers. That's why I keep saying, don't go copy answers and paste. When you are doing your research, you come up with answers, put in your own words to make sense, right? Not only do that, go ahead and give the answer some weight. It's one thing I was telling my good friend Ola, his answers were too brief. In an interview, you come up with brief answers, and they're going to give you that job. You need to show the interviewer that you know your stuff. The interviewer should be the one stopping you. That I've gone for interviews where I start talking, I say 1, 2, 3 things, the interviewer says, hey, stop. You know it. But when you start going with one-liners, oh, DNS transmits, it resolves host names to IP address and IP address to host name, and then you sit quiet. Oh, that's all you can talk about DNS and you expect to get a job. You're not going to get it. You know, so you need to go deep. However, zip doesn't mean you should just keep going and you shouldn't know where to end. At least while doing your research, you should know, okay, I should end here. I've provided enough substance to this question that I feel like I've convinced the interviewer enough to know that I know this stuff. You know, so that is the essence of all of this. So take note of the notes and comments you make in your homework, and do respond to them. If you have to fix something, please don't neglect it. Go ahead and fix it. I think Ola has been doing that. He's not in class today, but he's been doing that, and great job to him. Bismarck, your homework is not in yet. I don't know why. Jude, your homework is not in. It's been 2 weeks. And I think Bertrand, Emeka, they have to fix certain things in their homework and resubmit. And Jonathan, we already spoke before class. You know what to do. So Bismarck, can you tell me why your homework is not in? What's going on? You are muted. Unmute yourself.
I had already submitted more than 2 weeks ago.
No, I haven't seen it. I don't know. I don't know how you submitted because none of us have seen it.
I had submitted earlier, in fact, the same week that you said. So that's why I did not even have need to be going over it.
Did you put it on Slack or did you put it? Did you send it to the email address?
Google Drive, via Google Drive. I shared it on Google Drive.
We haven't seen it. If we haven't seen it, then we probably didn't do it well. Because, bro, this is IT. IT doesn't lie. I'm not saying you are lying. You probably did it, but you didn't do it well, or something went wrong.
Okay.
So just double check.
Can I?
Yeah, double check and make sure you've actually submitted. And anytime you submit your homework, please just send us a quick message on Slack or something, so we know you've done it, and we can confirm with you that, hey, we've seen it. So avoid things like this.
Okay.
But again, like,
have you seen any other one? Is that the only one people have not seen?
Even the first one, I didn't see it. You remember you submitted the first one on Slack, and I told you don't use Slack.
I mean, up till now.
Right. Yeah, I haven't seen it.
None of my homework up till now.
Yeah. First homework, you submitted it on Slack, and I told you put it on Google Drive and share it to the text-based email. And I didn't see that. So you might want to go and check what is going on your side, and just learn to do it the proper way. But like I said, we are not expecting that you guys do every single homework, but we're expecting that you do at least 70%. That is going to be the measure of any of the trainers prepping you for an interview. That's going to be our scale. If you haven't done 70% of your homework and you have an interview, you're on your own. Don't call me, because I would tell you straight up you're not ready, and I won't waste my time with you. So please, I know it's not easy, but I prefer somebody to submit their homework late than not to even submit it at all. So Kingsley, you have any comment to make on that? You're muted.
I don't think I have any comment for now, but I mean, the only thing, as Gerald said, is that if you submit your homework late, it's still better. It's better late than never. Because if you don't submit never, that means we understand that you're not even participating in the class. I mean, even submit half of the homework, even if it's half of it, that's still fine. That's all I would say. Just always keep pushing, because me, myself, I never used to submit all of my homeworks, but I see at the end of the day, I try as much as to submit some of them. Always keep it at least 70% of it. We know we are all busy and we can never do 100%, so at least keep 70% of it. Not 50, but 70. So we know you're putting in the work.
Okay, so at this point, before I open the class for questions on things that we've covered so far, let me just go ahead and tell you the plan of action. Kingsley and Charles probably told you last week. So we're done with networking pretty much. And I'll advise you to practice as much as you can. Go online, Google networking questions and answers, and go through as much as you can, right? We're still gonna provide you with many interview questions, and we're still gonna do a lot of prep work and teasing interview questions that are most common in interviews. But the plan right now is next weekend, Kingsley is gonna continue with Windows, and he's gonna cover domains, Active Directory, file and print sharing, and he's also gonna cover group policies.
There's RAID and then
RAID.
Mhm.
And
File
then
system, do file system and file and print sharing.
Yeah, file systems and a lot of fun stuff. A lot of fun stuff that are all interview based and project based.
Yeah, most is gonna be mostly activities. Yeah. So you guys get your machines ready because we're gonna be doing.
Yeah. So which means that by Saturday you must have downloaded your Windows Server 2016 at least.
We'll do
if you haven't done that.
2012 and 2016.
Yeah, 2012 and 2016 ISO images. Please, if you haven't done that, make sure you do it. It was part of your homework. All right. So with that said, we'll take on any question on any concept that you guys don't understand or you're struggling with, and you need more clarification.
And as Gerard said, you guys can always look up when you do researches on networking online, you can always get questions from there. If you don't understand the question or if you don't know where to find the answer, you can always reach to us with a question. If we have the answer, we're going to tell you. If we don't have the answer, we might do a research on you, show you where to get the answer. Because I know sometimes when when your brain is so tired, you're doing searches, you don't even find everything. Sometimes you just take a break. You just need to take a break from it. But if you use another set of eyes, it does help.
So any question on any of the topics we've covered so far? It might be, if you're already thinking ahead, you might ask about how we're gonna set up your resume. Because like I said, by next week, Wednesday, we'll bring a sample resume in class and we're gonna help you build your resume. By weekend, that's the Wednesday next week, the weekend after the Wednesday next week, right? We're gonna start Linux, which means that we should have been officially done with Windows and networking, right? Yeah. So if Kingsley covers everything over the weekend, then the other weekend we'll start Linux. If he doesn't, then he might take the Saturday, the other weekend, just to do like final.
Yeah, I know this Saturday, Charles was asking me that he's going to take at least maybe at least 20 minutes of my time on Saturday, so I might not cover everything this weekend, but I'll try as much as possible. Next weekend, Saturday, we should be done with Windows.
Yeah, because I know Charles was trying to put together a capstone project on networking using a Cisco packet tracer, design a network, and then simulate some networking issues in that network and have the class troubleshoot and fix. That would be very interesting. I loved it. You know, so we'll do that. But the class is open for questions right now. Charles will probably jump in at some point. He said he might come in like 8:30 or 8:45, you know, but any question?
Yes.
On everything we've said.
I have a question. Go ahead, Jabez.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I have a little question. So I would like you to explain this concept of subnetting.
Okay. Oh, Charles is coming in at the right time. Charles, are you there?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You came at the right time. Jarvis has a question, and he wanted, Jarvis, go ahead and ask your question.
Yes, I just wanted some explanation on this whole concept of subnetting. A little bit more clarification.
A bit more clarification. What's the exact question that you wanted me to answer?
I don't really have like a specific question, but I just want you to explain all of what subnetting is. I was going through the slides and I just felt like I would like to understand what it is again on the whole subnetting. Yeah.
Like what subnetting is all about?
Yeah.
Okay.
And how you allocate subnets, like, because I was reading this binary and I saw there was some calculation about allocating subnets, taking some part of the whole section of the IP address and allocating to the subnet. So I just want to understand what the subnet is, how you do that, and on what basis do you decide that, okay, since I have this portion on my host ID, I can decide and take this for use for the subnet.
So subnetting is all about breaking up your. We have situations whereby you may have a network, and that network may require a certain number of IP addresses. So subnetting, what subnetting actually does is it helps you not to waste IP addresses. So you can split up your network, or you can use IP addresses based on the way that you want to split up your network. So the example that I gave you guys from the previous class, actually, let me pull up that because I'm still at work. I was trying to resolve some issue here. Let me pull up the slide we used the previous time because there was an issue that I had to resolve so that I can get back to you guys. Gerard, where is that? I think I copied it to the drive. Guys, just a moment. Let me get into the drive.
Well, you admin, you shouldn't.
No, I didn't auto save the password, so let me. So what did you understand from what you studied? Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm getting you. So basically, I understand when you said, when I read subnets, I understood that yes, it's about you're splitting up the network, but I wanted to understand on what basis you do it. Is it like it's just, for example, you decide that, okay, I want to have this number of hosts, or are the standards you follow?
James, I didn't hear the last part. Sorry, you broke up.
I'm saying that I understand that subnetting is like you've just explained about how you split up a network, but like based on the specific example you did, are there particular standards you take when you're splitting up the network, or it's just, for example, if a company wants a particular amount of hosts, then you do it based on what the company wants, or is there particular standards which you have to follow?
No, it's based on the number of hosts that you want. It's not based on any Standard.
Okay.
But of course, there are rules that you get to follow when you're doing it. There's a, let me go back to the slide that I was trying to explain the other time, because where I was getting that information from, we had a typo in there, and I was just wondering how we came up with the figures. Do you guys have the notes about CIDR? Hello? Hello? You guys have notes about CIDR? Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
Yes, yeah.
Waiting for them to respond.
Did I update the notes on CIDR? Were you guys able to see?
Yeah, I think the one that was posted, I did download it, but I don't know if there has been any updates.
All right, let me see.
No, sir, you did not give us notes on CIDR. Instead, you said we should read on CIDR.
I said you should read on CIDR.
Yeah, you said we should read on CIDR. We should read on RFC 1918. You also said we should read on a number of concepts, but you also asked us to read on subnetting. And in the course of reading on subnetting, we came across CIDR inside.
Yeah, so I think Saturday we covered CIDR, but I did not. I told you guys to read about the 1918 RFC, but CIDR was covered. So let me just let me just get those notes.
No, sir. In the course of covering CIDR, something came up that it was like a clash in the course of attempting to explain. We were confused.
Yes.
You are unable to appreciating why the value of n in the formula 2 to the n is equal to the number of hosts, and in the formula 2 to the n minus 2 being the number of. So that is where we got stuck a little. So if you can
Yeah,
pick up from there, I think you clarify, Javi.
Yeah, I think yeah, Bismarck is right. What we got stuck off was we're trying to find the number of hosts that was available to that particular network.
So I can't see
based
that
on the format.
But let me explain it off the top of my head. Okay, CIDR is here. I can see CIDR. We did CIDR. It's right here. So let me go ahead and explain that. I'm starting my screen share, which is disabled by Mr. Gerard.
Oh, are you sure?
It's because he's not admin today, so you have to gotta make him call.
Oh, you are not admin today.
Right.
Kingsley got the power.
Guys, you won't be able to see my face because it's dark in here. All right, am I able to share my screen now? Okay, looks like I can share my screen. All right, so this is why we got stuck, right? Yes, no. Right here.
Yeah, 4096 hosts. I believe that's where we got stuck because
all right, yeah. So
math didn't add up.
So we were giving an example whereby a company is trying to subnet, whereby, for instance, it has only 3,000 hosts, but based on the cloud, so we were trying to see which problem does CIDR resolve. So if I was to use a class A address, I would have 16 million. That means if I have only 3,000, that means I would be wasting about 16 million and maybe 4,000 something, 400, 700 something, and then 4,000 and maybe 214 hosts would be IP addresses would be wasted. And if it is a class B, and I have only 3,000 hosts, for a class B, I would be wasting about 62,000. That's an approximate. And if it's a class C, that means I would have to use multiple class C addresses in order to come up with 3,000 hosts. So we said, what can we do in that case? So in that case, we use a different subnet mask. So the /28 is a typo. That's why we were not able to get that particular number of hosts that we wanted. So my question to you guys is, what subnet or can we use to get the 4094 if it's not /28? And guys, we say /28 is what? Is it the network portion or is it the host portion?
I think you said the network portion.
Yeah, so it's the network portion. So what should the network portion be in this case, so that we were able to get our 4094 figure? Anyway, so this was a typo, like I said, it's a slash. Let me use my pen. So instead of /28, this has to be a /24
maybe.
20.
Oh,
so so if a /20 is giving us the network portion, how do we get the host portion, the IP addresses?
You subtract 32 from the 20, which is 12.
Okay,
and
so
2 to the power 12
is someone calculating? 2 to the 12?
No, I don't buy the idea, sir.
It doesn't matter what you buy or not.
2 to the power 12 is 40 and 90.
It's back, I like that.
Yeah,
I don't buy it.
Sir, please, can I make a comment?
Yes.
So that I also get my own confusion clarified.
Oh, yeah, sure. I'm listening.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate it. We know by default that if this network address is, I don't know if it class B, class C, I'm watching from a phone, I'm not seeing clearly.
Let's be sure what it is instead of guessing. Guys, is
Yeah.
172, which class is that?
Okay, 172 is
Class B.
Class
Huh?
B address. Okay, from
Are
this
you
class
sure?
B, yes.
Okay, let's go ahead. What's your point? All right, I'm listening.
Okay.
Guys,
Now
study your notes. Make sure you study your notes.
By default, the number of network bits is supposed to be 16.
Yes, that's true.
So
very
if we have 20, if the net mask, subnet mask there is 20, it means that they have encroached into the host bit and taken 4 bits.
Exactly. You're correct. Yes.
Oh, so I think if we start appreciating from the default concept of it, will be very easy to understand that when we have class A address, the default net mask is 8 bit. When we have class B, the default net mask is 16 bit. When we have class C address, the default is 24 bits.
Yes,
We will be able to understand that sometimes we will need only a certain number of hosts, maybe 150. And that is one of the problems. The next problem is sometimes we'll need that 150 hosts in 3 different networks. That's another problem for another day, not today, I think. So if we concentrate only on the fact that we want 150 hosts for one subnet, then we can appreciate what he's saying from this angle right now. Am I bringing my points out so that you people will clarify me some other time? I know it cannot be today because it will take a very long time. It's a very easy concept, but it's taking me 1 week before I'm able to come out, but I'm not clear completely. Please, it's not an easy concept. That's
you're right.
Only a few pages, but it has taken all my night. Hello.
All right.
Imagine.
All right, guys. One thing is, as Linux system admins, you are not going to go into the depth of subnetting your network. So the reason why I included CIDR or classless interdomain routing is because I wanted you guys to get to know how the concept works, whereby sometimes you don't have to use the default class A, class B, or class C. Sometimes host portions, the host portions will get into the network portion of the IP address, so that you can increase or decrease the number of hosts you want in your network. So that's why we included the CIDR, because it's a common principle that you'll be hearing about in the IT world. But in most cases, I think as Linux admins, you won't be subnetting networks. That is going to be the role of network admins and network engineers. They're the ones that are going to be doing that. So Bismarck, thanks for the research, but yeah, don't go so much in depth. Don't let it kind of like, don't become a network engineer. I mean, unless you want to become a network engineer, but that's the depth you have gone to. But that was good research. That was good research. You don't need to spend the entire night awake. All right, guys, does this make sense now, or did you guys want me to go through over it again? Because the only issue right here was the /28, which was a typo, which was giving us about 16 hosts instead of a /20, which is going to give us 409. I wanted someone to get that number so that we can discuss why the number is again off. Does someone have a calculator?
They can pull one up on the computer. Just pull one up on the computer.
Sorry?
I say anyone can pull one, pull a calculator up from the computer.
Yeah, I can use my computer.
All right, cool.
I don't get exactly what we are to calculate.
We said to get the network to get the number of
Come and
hosts.
see. Then some small portions.
Okay. We're trying to get the number of hosts from that.
Okay.
What's the number? So we said 32 minus 20 gives us 12. So we know the 20 is the network portion. But we know that means if, based on what we started the other time, we said an IP address is a 32-bit number, right? So if
Yeah, so I think if you do it, you get 4096 hosts.
good.
That's 2 to the power 12.
All right, 2 to the power 12 gives us 4096. But why is it that we're getting 4094 hosts? What happens to the other two IP addresses that are not included here as part of the IP addresses that we can use to assign to devices in our network?
I think that's the formula to get the subnet host. The host per subnet is 2 to the host bits minus 2.
Why is it -2? Why are we subtracting that 2? That's the question.
Yeah, so what happens to the two IP addresses?
I think the
Can I
two,
try?
Yes, Bismarck, go ahead.
Okay, we all understand that the last address to the last host address, when we convert that binary into a decimal, it will give us 255, 256, and from 256 we know 255 is the broadcast address. So we'll not include 255 in the broadcast because it will broadcast to all the machines or IP address within our subnet. Besides that, we'll not take the IP address that ends with a when we convert the binary into a bit, into a decimal, if the number, the decimal number is 0, we are not going to consider it because a network portion of an address that ends with a 0 will be reserved for the DNS that will be transferring. In other words, I'm saying that the network portion will be the first one. So we'll not include it in the host address.
All right, the part for the broadcast is right. So the first one is the gateway, right? Does that make sense? What Bismarck talked about?
Yes.
You guys know that we need a gateway to every network needs a gateway, right?
yes.
So if I have a 172.168.16.16.00, what would my gateway be? My default gateway.
Could you please say the IP address again?
It's right there. I'm sharing my screen. The 172.168.16.16.00. And then what I want to say is we have two IPs that are reserved. One is the broadcast, like Bismarck pointed out, and the other one is the gateway.
So the gateway would probably be 172.16.0.1.
Yep. Most cases, yes, that would be the gateway if that's is configured to be the first IP. Guys, is that more clear now? Does this make more sense?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, Bismarck, go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much for having me. I think that if we can appreciate that value, when we write that 2 to the end, that end there means the number of bits on the network, of the number of bits on the host network. That is the key. Then we understand again that 2 to the n minus 2, those two ends are different. That is where there is a confusion, please. Those two ends. Because one is an n which is indicating that the number of bits that has encroached into the host portion. Then the other n is the number of bits in the host in the network. So it's a little confusing. That is where I was able to resolve. If I were there, I would have been able to see that in more detailed explanation. Besides that, having those values from the concept of binary that you also gave that read and prepare as an assignment. I was able to also understand that when we have limit and a class C IP address .10 .11, let me just say that a class C IP address, for instance. Now that last portion, which is the last decimal, that means the last that octave, the last octave, it has a certain formula. Now, if you are able to use that formula to easy generate in primary school base 2, convert base 2 to base 10, convert base 10 to base 2, it's very direct. Okay, now subnetting. When we convert those numbers into binaries, when we convert that last IP address into binary and put it there, it will be a long number, which is an 8 number, maybe 101101. Now, when we have that decimal, you understand that the binary. Now, when we put that binary, we'll take it from left to right. We'll put, or if we are considering from right to left, we'll say 0, 1 will be the first.
I don't know if it's me, but I can't hear Bismarck.
Bismarck, can you type your answer, because your network is bad and it keeps breaking up?
Yeah,
so we barely get what you're saying. We're getting bits and pieces of what you're saying, and even though you're trying to make sense, the whole thing is not coming out because you're breaking up.
I'm sorry, I'm using, I'm very, very sorry about it. I'm using the data. When I reach home, please, I will forward it so that people can help clarify all of us for once and for all.
Sure. Thanks so much for your contribution, man. Really appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah, so the only question I have is, with the -2, you did mention that 1 is the IP address of the router or the default gateway. So what is the other one? You said a broadcast address?
Charles, you're muted.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yes, one is the broadcast address, and then the other is the default gateway. Yes. Remember, every host needs to, the broadcast address is used to identify where the host is on the network.
Yes.
So one is the broadcast, one is the default gateway.
All right, thank you.
Nice. Any other question, please?
Okay, sir. Hello.
Go ahead.
The other issue I faced, I don't know, I don't really know how to put it, but I'll just try because it has come up through one of our learners. Suppose I had 150, I had to distribute 150 IPs to 150 different machines on 3 different networks. It was really a problem to me, struggling to resolve it. I was not able. Please, I do apologize. If I'm home, I will forward it so that we can also see that concept of distributing that IP on 3 different networks. The same subnets on networks that are different, but within the same district.
No problem, Bismarck. When you get home, submit your questions and we'll look at it and help you with whatever issue you're facing. But like Trainer Kingsley's Charles said, while doing your research, some of the things you study might take you deep into networking, which is good for you to know, right? To increase your networking knowledge, and because you never know what you face at work, and you never know where you find yourself. It can be a small company where you are the systems admin, you have to do networking, you have to do Linux, you have to do cloud. You're gonna be like the IT engineer where you do everything. In other cases, you might find yourself in a bigger corporation where you are just the Linux admin or you are the AWS admin. And all you worry about is the AWS stuff, and you don't have to do all the networking stuff that the network engineers do. However, your understanding of networking should still be solid because, like I was telling my good friend Drew the other day, you might, when you provision virtual machines or virtual instances on the cloud, you have to configure them and introduce them to the network. It's not the job of a network administrator to do that. It is your job as the Linux admin or as the cloud admin. If your cloud instance is not connecting, for example, you're facing some networking issue, the machine cannot be reached for some reason, or in general, there is a networking issue faced by that machine. It is your responsibility to troubleshoot the networking issue and fix it. It won't be the job of the network administrator. But when it comes to configuring switches, designing the network topologies and things like that, and you find yourself in a big company, that will be the job of the networking team and not your job. But again, like I said, you can find yourself in a startup company or a small company where they don't have the means to afford a networking team, a sysadmin team, like different teams like other large corporations do, then you will be tasked to do all of these things. So in as much as we want to say, okay, the scope for this course only covers this and this and this and this, true, we want to stick to what we have to know on this course. We also encourage you to go learn more if you have that time, because like I said, you can find yourself in an environment where you are everything and you have to do networking like a network engineer and you still do sysadmin work, and trust me, that can be crazy. So to always be on the safe side, right? Like when I use myself as an example, when I studied Linux and Unix, and I studied cloud computing, and I was done, I continued to develop my skills by enrolling and taking a networking course on its own, just networking. I think Charles also did that at some point in his career, Kingsley as well. And we took CCNA just to further our understanding and our scope of networking. Not because we wanted to be network engineers or anything, but because we wanted to understand the backbone of networking. So if you find yourself in an environment where you have to be wearing multiple hats, any networking issue wouldn't be a problem. Any sysadmin issue wouldn't be a problem. So as you continue to develop in this course and go deeper and finally come to the end, you will make those decisions yourself. Or if you want to come to me to help you for advice, if you feel like you need to take more training on networking, I can point you to the right direction. But for this class, you need to know networking as much as a sysadmin needs to know, not as a network engineer. So everything we're covering are the things you need to know to do your job as a Linux admin or a systems engineer or a cloud engineer. So just to clear that part. Over the week, I shared two important documents with you. I don't know if anyone has had the chance to look at. Anyone looked at it? What I shared over the week? Network troubleshooting tools and virtualization and the two documents I shared. Did anyone look at them?
Not yet, sir.
Okay. You should look at them. They are very important. And I did say they're important. So let me just, Charles, you can stop sharing. Let me just show them what what is contained in those documents. So, and just one more remark, please. Guys, don't comment in the notes and videos channel. Please don't comment here. I see some people making comments in here. This is not one of the channels that you need to comment on. You know, don't make any comment in here. Because when people click on this notes and videos channel, they are supposed to just see the links here to get the notes and to see the videos. If you keep commenting in this channel, it keeps taking the notes and videos link all the way up. And some people click in here and say, hey, I don't find the notes and videos because of all these comments. So please avoid commenting here. If you have an issue, go put it in the general channel or put it in the random channel. Notes and videos, please don't comment in there. Class access, don't comment in there, please. So we scroll up here, networking and Windows Notes. You open that. So these are the two I shared. One, networking troubleshooting tools and virtualization. And the second one is TCP IP protocols and ports, which we've been talking about in class. So let me open this one and just go through briefly. So it's gonna tell you about TCP IP ports and protocols. It's gonna tell you what a port is. And Jarvis, if you look, you can see a name here. I was using Jarvis as an example. Jarvis transferring data to Faith. You know, so take your time and read it and understand how ports work. You know, so if I come ask you the difference between a logical port and a physical port, you should be able to explain it like an IT professional, not like a layman. Okay, so this covers protocols and ports, and here are our protocols and ports we've been talking about. So we have, so when I come to class, this is how we're gonna be testing you. I can ask you the SSH port, and you're supposed to tell me it's 22. I can ask you telnet port, you tell me it's 23. SMTP, you have to know it's port 25. Also, what you need to do is find out what these ports, these protocols do. What is FTP used for? It's not mentioned in this document. That's a homework that you guys should find out. But I'll tell you, it's used. The answer is already there. It says file transfer protocol. So that already tells you the protocol is used to transfer files, right? Secure shell. That's what SSH stands for. It means that it's providing some kind of security, right? That already gives you an idea what that protocol is doing, right? Telnet. So find out what these protocols do, each of them, and master their ports. You need to memorize them. There's no way around this one. You must memorize them. You know, DNS, this is the DNS port. We already know what DNS does. And know what, not the transport protocol. Like DNS is both TCP and UDP. Know the transporters for every protocol. It's important. You see, DHCP uses two ports, 67 and 68. If you're a curious person, you find out why does DHCP uses two ports? What is one port for? Could it be 67 or 68 or 67 and 68? And if it is 67 and 68, why 67 and 68? What is 67 doing and what is 68 doing? Those are things you should read about, you know, because these are interview questions. They can ask you the DNS ports and you say DHCP ports, for example, you say 67 and 68, and they launch a follow-up question. What is port 67 used for and what is port 68 used for? And you're like, I don't know. So those are things you should find out. You know, we know this one already, port 80, which is the most popular because all of us visit websites every day. You know, FTP uses port 69. NTP, which I told you is the most simple port the class should know, 1, 2, 3. You know, so master all these protocols, what the protocols are used for, and their port numbers. That's all. And we've been singing three-way handshakes in this class. And we've explained three-way handshakes over and over. And I've taken my time to explain it again in this manual, what a three-way handshake is, you know. And again, I'm using Jarvis and Fit exchanging data, so we understand. And this is a diagram of how the handshake happens, the SYN signal, SYN acknowledgement, and the acknowledgement, you know. So that is it for that. And we downloaded the Wireshark application. So I put a homework in here for you to research how to use the Wireshark application that we downloaded to capture and analyze network traffic. My assumption is that you guys have all downloaded Wireshark. It was part of, I think, your first homework. So go on YouTube, watch a video on how to use the Wireshark application to capture and analyze TCP and UDP traffic on your system. You will love it, it's fun. Okay, so guys, do that. So that is it for the first manual on TCP IP protocols and ports. The second one is network troubleshooting tools and virtualization. So let me open that. And these are all things that we know. It's not like anything new. We know what ping is. So this, when you're troubleshooting, these are tools you can use. You can use ping, you can use tracehead, you can know, you use IP config, but you should know when to use what tool at what time. That is what is important. If you are testing for connectivity, you cannot reach a server over the network. Of course, you have to ping it to see if it can respond. If you're not even getting a response from the ping, or you cannot ping, then that gives you an idea what is going on with that server or that machine. You know, so read this, please. It's very important, and you actually need to be reading and practicing because all the explanations here have some little practice with it. So this is ping. What ping is used for? Each time you ping, you see this TTL, right? This is what TTL actually means. It means time to leave. And it is the maximum time allowed for a remote system to respond to a ping request. So master all of these things, they are well written out. And sometimes you ping and you get a message, host unreachable. What does that mean? You know, you can get that in an interview. So study this manual closely, please. Tracehead. On Windows, it's known as tracehead. If you are troubleshooting Cisco on a Cisco device or a router, it is traceroute. On Linux, it is trace. What is it used for? It is used to display the route data packet flows to get to a receiving system. I think Charles did a wonderful job showing you how to use the tracehead command. And this is an example here. Do a tracehead on linuxacademy.com. IP config, which we are very, very familiar with. It displays your network configuration information on Windows. Please pay attention to that. That is Windows. And if you want to see all your network information, including IP, default gateway, DNS and DHCP information, you do the IP config/all. If you do the IP config without using all/all, it's going to display just your IP. And I don't think it's going to display a gateway. It's going to display your IP and maybe your DNS. But if you want everything, including DHCP, DNS, gateway, and the IP, go with the IP config/all. They might try to trick you in an interview and they ask you, how do you display just your IP? Don't say IP config/all. All means you want to display everything, including the DNS, DHCP, all that. But if you want just the IP and maybe just the gateway, you can go with IP config. Take note of that. Now, you want to release an IP. Say you have an IP that you've been using. You want your system to release that IP. If you do an IP config / release, these are things that I want you to practice today or tomorrow or whenever you have time. IP config / release. It is used to reset dynamic IP of a Windows system. It will drop your IP from RAM cache. After running IP config / release, do a follow-up. Run IP config / renew. It will reset and give you a new IP address.
So just to add to what Gerald said about this IP release and IP renew, those are like when you're having let's say conflict with IP in the network, or you're having trouble with like a machine not talking to the network. You can easily run this two command. It's gonna flush your DNS cache. When it flushes the DNS cache, now that machine that's not able to talk to the network is gonna seek now a new IP address now from the DHCP server. So the DHCP now is gonna give him a new IP. That's when now the IP renew comes in. When you do the IP renew, it seeks new IP from the DNS server for him to give him a new IP so that he can talk now to the network. Maybe that the one that he had before was having a conflict with another machine because another machine has already taken it, but that one was set maybe static on this machine that you're trying to troubleshoot. It was set static to it, but that machine was not on the network at that moment since it had a static IP. But somebody else came to the network and took the IP. So now for you not to bring your own machine back on the network now, it's going to be issues because it's having conflict now with that other machine that has that current IP. So for you not to get that done for you, like easily troubleshooting, that's a quick step. You just go to a command prompt, do an IP release. It's going to flush that IP out of your DNS cache. Then when you do an IP renew now, it's going to signal for now. It's going to get you back a dynamic IP. It's not going to get you anymore a static IP anymore. So now you are the one that have to go in there and reconfigure it now to be a static IP. Because this time now it's going to give you just a dynamic IP, which if you want to keep it that way, you can still keep it that way. If you want to set it as a static IP, you can always go in there and change it. And we did show you guys how to do that, right?
Excellent, Kingsley. Does that explanation make sense, please?
Yes.
Okay. So don't just read this and keep it, guys. It's easy to read and keep, right? But when you read this, you practice because we are doing hands-on. These are things that you should be doing. And when you do it, you understand it. And when you get a question about this, you will not think again. You'll not be thinking because you have done it. 1 second, guys. Okay, so guys, play around with this and see how this works on the system at home. Release your IP, seek for a new IP, because at work when you're troubleshooting, you have two systems that are facing an IT conflict. You have to do this. You have to release the IP, and then reconfigure a static IP if that system had a static IP and was conflicting with some other system. Okay, there is also this another interesting command right here, ipconfig / flush DNS. This will delete DNS information stored in RAM. A new request will be sent to DHCP requesting new DNS information. Okay, here's another another command. Did you practice how to use NS lookup? Did Charles cover this with you guys? Name server lookup. Anyone? Okay, that's not a problem if you guys didn't do it. We are doing it right now. So NS lookup, it queries your DNS database and provides a host name when given an IP address and vice versa. So if you want to know the IP address of facebook.com, all you need to do is open your command prompt and type nslookup facebook.com. It's going to give you the IP address of Facebook. That is the nearest Facebook server that's around you, right? Similarly, if you put the IP address of some server that you know, it's going to give you the host name. So that's what nslookup does.
Excuse me, does the tracer also give you that information of the IP address?
No, you have to know what tracer does. What
Yes,
is
you do.
tracer used for? You don't just you have to understand how to use the tools. If you do a ping, you ping facebook.com, ping is still going to give you the IP address of facebook.com, of course, right? But we are, when an IP address is converted to a host name and a host name is converted back to an IP address, that is actually DNS in action, right? Okay, right now, what is actually DNS? DNS is actually name server. Most of the time when you read about DNS, you hear about name server, right? So it takes a name and converts it and take this other information, host name to IP, IP to host name. You know, so this command right here, like it says, it queries the DNS database and provides a host name when given an IP address. That's what nslookup will do. So if you're looking for an IP while you have the host name, you don't need to worry to ping. Just do an nslookup. You know, and then you can get that IP and do what you want to do with the IP. So this is an example here, and I said nslookup 8.8.8.8. And I think Charles had covered this in class. The free public DNS servers owned by Google, the 8.8.8.8 and the 8.8.4.4. If you are using Comcast, I think theirs is 75.75.75.75. You know, so but just know these ones. Also, net start, you see this command a lot. Whether you're in Cisco or you're in Linux or Windows, you cannot escape net start. It's a very important command that you need to know. And this is what it actually does. It gives you detailed information about the state of all current network connections on your computer. So your computer, you're using your computer right now. Your computer, like I said, is always talking to other systems in your network. If you're in a network, it's talking to other systems, you know. And if you want to know what systems your computer is talking to, what ports are open on that system, run the net start. You have to use the net start command. So read about it. Here's an example. Run this command on your system, net start-p tcp-a. It will display active TCP connections with active ports. And of course, if you want to see UDP connections, what do? You replace the TCP here with UDP, straightforward. So if you get an interview question and they're asking you, how do you display active connections on a system? No, we are talking about netstart. And you don't need to state the entire command to say netstart-p, just say netstart. And that's a pass for you. Route shows all configured routes on your machine. Example, route print. So this is a fun document for you to actually do hands-on and see how all these commands work. Practice them. And if you have a question, come to class on Saturday and ask us. We did, I think we spoke about app. Charles covered it. I do remember. And we said address resolution protocol is used to map hardware addresses to IP addresses of systems. Open your command prompt. You can type app-a. It will display the app table. Every system has an app table on it. It will display the app table of your system. And you can also use this command to display your default gateway. So app is also used to display a default gateway.
So as the subnet mask, it's gonna show your subnet mask as well, because I just ran the command just like a second ago as he's talking. So if you do that right now, you'll see it also.
Thank you,
Kingsley. Your subnet mask, everything.
Thank you, Kingsley. So Wireshark, again, it said read about Wireshark, install and learn to use. And in the other document that we just covered, I said the Wireshark you downloaded, watch a YouTube video on how to use Wireshark to capture and analyze TCP and UDP traffic on your system. So do that. That is hands-on. And we all know what virtualization is. I did explain that in class, and I gave you in homework, virtualization. And we spoke about the host machine, and then we spoke about the guest machines. So the VMware host is the hardware that is housing the hypervisor. So if you install VMware on your Windows machine becomes your VMware host. And if you use VMware and you create virtual machines in the VMware that you installed on the host, the VMware systems or the virtual machines that are on the host machine becomes the guest machines or the guest systems. Simple as that. And you also saw this in the homework, what a hypervisor is, right? So this is not new. And this is what I want you to pay attention to, because these are interview questions. They'll ask you, what is a hosted hypervisor? Or what is a bare metal hypervisor? I've explained this to you, that there are operating system hypervisors, as well as applications that you install on a machine that are also hypervisors. Otherwise, they are known as type 1 and type 2 hypervisors. They can ask you that. What's the difference between a type 1 hypervisor and a type 2 hypervisor? You should be able to know. And I told you in class, we're going to be using type 2 hypervisors, Oracle VirtualBox, VMware Workstation Pro. But when you are interviewing at work, you don't want to mention any of these ones. You want to say you've used type 1 hypervisors, VMware EXSI, Microsoft Hyper-V, KVM. Those are the hypervisors you'll be talking about, because those are the ones you find in companies. Companies are not going to be using Oracle VirtualBox and VMware Workstation or VMware Player. You can see some might use VMware Workstation Pro, the Pro edition, but not the Player. So take note of that. And I also followed up by reminding you of the Windows boot up process, because I asked this in the homework, and the first homework, some people are explaining things that I've never heard before. So here it is again for the second time. And I think, let me go back to the first TCP IP protocols and ports just to show you something at the end. At the end of this, you have, that's not the document. I think it's this one, network summary. Let me check this one out. Okay, I think I send this to you. You all have this, what an open system is, what a closed system is, what is a network, types of networks, what is a router, what is a switch, what's an access point. Differentiate between Ethernet and Internet. We cover that in class extensively, and I spend so much time explaining that. And I hope you guys, if you come across that question, it shouldn't be confusing. A switch, server, these are use cases of servers, different types of servers: file server, print server, web server, application server, database server, and so on and so forth. Network topologies. Charles did a great job explaining all of this. Bus, star, mesh, ring, chain, and all that. What is a peer-to-peer network? What is a client-server network? We all know that. OSI model, right? Charles did spend extensive time on this too. What is a protocol? Examples of protocols. What is a host name? TCP IP, IP address, 2 versions, IPv4, IPv6. Differences: one has security built into its stack, the other doesn't have. One is a 128-bit number, the other one is a 32-bit number. So you have all this information. Structure of an IP address. Charles did explain this too extensively. x.x.x.x, where x is equal to a number. Every x here represents 8 bits or 1 octet. If you add this, it gives 32. Add this, it gives 4 octets. So that is that. These are your different IP classes. It's also in the wonderful put together document on networking that Charles shared with you. Class A, class B, class C, their subnet mask, the first and the last octets and examples, what a MAC address is, what is the port. Take note of the well-known ports. They start from 0 to 1023. And then the registered port starts from 1024 to 49,151. And look at this command again. We just talked about netstart a minute ago, right? To display active connections. If you run netstart-a, it will show you the ports being used, which are the active connections. Because if any port is being used, it means there is an active connection. So it's the same question. DNS. To ask you what is DNS in an interview, you should explain all of this. Don't just say it converts IP address to hostname and then you sit quiet. You should be able to explain and go add more depth. And these are the different DNS records. I did tell Jarvis today, if you have time, read about DNS records. They might ask you what is an A record, what is a pointer record, what is an MX record. So no DNS record, read about these records. The ones that are common is the A record, otherwise known as AAA record, and then the pointer record and the MX record. Those are the ones that you should know. And DHCP, that is DHCP. And this, they ask you about DHCP, you should explain everything here. That shows that you actually know. You are not just giving one-liners. And I don't know if Charles talked to you guys about VLANs. Charles, did you discuss anything about VLAN? Perhaps not, but just read about VLANs too. This is just an introduction of a VLAN. We spoke about firewalls, and last and not the least, differences between TCP and UDP. If you look at this document, there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 differences between TCP and UDP. So if I ask you differentiate between TCP and UDP, I don't want to hear one answer. There are 8 different answers you can give me, including TCP doing a 3-way handshake. That UDP doesn't. And it says here, read about it. But in the other document, I explain what a 3-way handshake is. So guys, you guys are armed. You have everything you need. Everything. And that is it. Any question, guys?
Oh, that's a good material right there, Jared.
Jay, I'll step up your tuition. 500 will go up.
We just need time to practice.
Hello.
Yeah, Bismarck. So at this point, this is 9:30. Kingsley, you can stop recording. So anything now we say will not be part of